Welcome to the annual State of the City. I appreciate this opportunity to talk about all the good work we do in our community and highlight the work that we've done in the past year. Thank you to the many people who helped me with this presentation, especially to Kathy Merrill, the indomitable, the irreplaceable, who helped me condense a year's worth of work into a 20-minute presentation. No small task. And also to the many department directors and staff who helped me with the background detail, and to my fellow council members who serve honorably. It's an honor to serve with you. This year's theme is Big Things Happened in Eau Claire in 2015, not all of them downtown. I demonstrate that Eau Claire is a city that works and a force for good in people's lives by showing that we managed our really big thing happening downtown and we tended to a whole city. But first, a nod to downtown where really big things are happening. Our city is in a downtown renaissance of epic proportions. It's exhilarating and exhausting. We can and should be proud of all the exciting things we have made happen, especially the Confluence Project. But we can't rest yet or feel too smug about what we have done. We must press on, for we all know the folly of becoming too confident in what we accomplished yesterday. I know this will not happen to us because we are a practical people and we work hard. My address this year speaks to that. We focused on many, many big things in 2015. The big focus in City Council was high standards of public service. We experienced the death of a sitting council member. Dave Dueck served District 4 for 10 years. He had an abiding interest in Eau Claire's history. He was kind and responsive to his constituents, and he set high standards for diplomacy on council. He passed in April. Council also hired a new city manager this year. After a rigorous internal process, we hired Dale Peters. He sets high standards for public executive service and brings the exact skills the city needs during this time of high turnover. We welcome him. We hammered out a new strategic plan this last year, a guiding document that sets high standards for our work over the next 3 years. The mission statement and objectives help focus our efforts on fostering economic development, focusing on safe and functional infrastructure, preparing the city's workforce for future service demands, and building a financially sustainable city organization. Now, the big focus in finance was transparency. The department launched new software that gives citizens open access to the city's budget. The software is called OpenGov. A Gallup poll in 2014 showed that 74% of people in the United States trust local government because they're confident that local government can solve local problems. The city realizes this trust must be constantly earned, however, and OpenGov is one way that will help us do that. Now, with an internet connection, people have access to complete financial information. So, if you've ever wondered how much the city spent on snow plowing, how much the police department spent on training, and how much revenue the city received from parking tickets, links on our homepage will take you to that information, and they are noted on the screen. The big focus in the police department was trust. Eau Claire once again earned a low crime rate, about a 5% decrease in violent crime, by supporting community-orienting policing philosophy. Also, a new management philosophy was adopted which interrupts and stops negative crime trends in the community. The police department also adopted a new slogan, in partnership with our community, which reinforces a strong, positive relationship with the community. Well, our police department is not immune to the national spotlight shown on law enforcement over the use of force and race relations. Chief Staniszewski proactively implemented strategies that build trust and legitimacy. These efforts include assigning police officers to attend neighborhood meetings, active involvement in public forums on race relations, and arranging community events like National Night Out on Crime and Shop with a Cop. The big focus in the library was adapting. In this information age, demand for access to all kinds of information is the norm. The library is adapting to this reality in several ways. One, in youth services. The library staff made 28 visits to schools, reaching 6,400 kids. They managed 450 kids who signed up for 1,000 books before kindergarten and visited 57 youth centers, providing story time for 2,000 children and child care workers. They also adapted via their digital branch services, which continue to grow. The library's website served over 225,000 visitors last year. The big focus in Parks and Recreation was getting everybody together. No small task. They got us together for athletics on a new artificial turf at Carson Park, a shared football stadium. When the turf needed replacing, 1 year ahead of schedule, many partners got together to replace it and establish a fund for future replacement. As a result, there were no turf-related injuries in 2015. And 2 youth sports leagues got together with the city and raised private donations to construct a 5-diamond ball field at Jeffers Park. On previously unused city property, the new Jeffers Park will open in the spring, and with a few more donations, we'll add amenities for the whole city to enjoy. We also installed some new basketball parks at Newell Park in Shawtown, and as you all know, we expanded pickleball courts at McDonough Park, which gets everybody together every week to play pickleball. Parks and Rec also got us together in health and fitness. A new Fairfax community garden made it possible to grow healthy food close to home. And the Owen Park Outdoor Fitness Zone and Healthy Trails walking program brought together people of all ages to improve health through exercise at no cost. And Parks and Rec got us together to manage resources. The Urban Deer Management Plan helped the whole city recognize a problem we have with the growing urban deer herd and taught us how to begin to manage it. And preemptive ash tree management brought together whole streets in the early recognition of the inevitable emerald ash beetle that will decimate the city's ash trees. And a new partnership to collect yard waste between the city and box sanitation brought together the demand for disposal of yard waste, a willing private partner, and city-owned land. The big focus in public works was moving cars, people, and water. The High Bridge project moved people onto trails. The former railroad bridge crossing the Chippewa River was converted into a multi-use crossing for bicycles and pedestrians. Linking the west end of the bridge to the Upper West Side trail system added 0.7 miles to the city's already 27 miles, if I remember correctly. Alternate side parking moved cars off the streets. The policy improved the city's residential plow operation with a new approach to snow plowing during a declared snow cleanup. In short, very short, the alternate side parking is now implemented according to the weather, not the calendar. Just remember that and you'll be fine. Utility projects move drinking and rainwater. Public Works designed and constructed 32 street and utility projects around the city. Main Street, Highland Avenue, Lake Street, and Summit Avenue, which replaced utilities that date back to the 1800s. A comprehensive stormwater plan update began, which will examine stormwater issues to keep the city's infrastructure reliable and safe by moving stormwater off of streets. The big focus in human resources was worker well-being. HR conducted a wage and compensation study, last done in 1995, affecting roughly 1/2 of the city's workforce. The purpose of the study was to ensure competitive wages, so to attract and retain the best employees, and the incremental and positive well-being of the employees who do work for the city. Turnover was big on our minds too. Like many employers, the city is facing a high turnover due to retirements. In fact, we project a 57% turnover in our workforce over the next 10 years. As employees with upwards to 40 years of experience leave the workforce, institutional knowledge that is not successfully transferred is lost. But the city began working on a succession plan to help the effective transfer of this knowledge and support a stable and a peaceful workforce. The big focus in the fire department was life-saving speed. Next year begins the 9th year Eau Claire Fire and Rescue provides emergency medical services to the region via regional EMS services. New agreements with our partners ensure a continuing partnership from now through 2018. And a study of the regional EMS system showed that it is financially viable for the city and maintains life-saving response time for all of our residents. And Eau Claire Fire and Rescue led a shared team to form the Water Safety Task Force to prevent drownings, primarily on the city's waterways and rivers. The task force implemented life-saving jacket loaner boards, water watcher cards, and education programs. Their efforts meant that there were no water-related deaths in the city in the past 2 years. The big focus in the health department was preventing illness. The health department won a grant from the Medical College of Wisconsin that helps include a health lens when considering development or redevelopment. The Cannery District is a pilot site to test the effectiveness of a health impact assessment, a nationally recognized tool to connect health incomes and connect health outcomes and prevent illness in the built environment. The health department also prevented illness in WIC participating families, women, infants, and children, with the e-WIC program, a card that provided 3,000 people in Eau Claire with an easier way to purchase food at the local grocery store. The health department's Nurse Family Partnership Program provided evidence-based early intervention for low-income, first-time families, parents, preventing child neglect and abuse. And the health department's Healthy Communities Mental Action Team helped prevent life-threatening effects of mental illness with training in QPR, question, persuade, refer. This program trains people to prevent suicide, sadly, a leading cause of death in Eau Claire for youth and adults. The big focus in community development was paying attention. First, by paying attention to land use. Every 10 years, the state law requires communities to update their comprehensive land use plan, first completed in Eau Claire in 1953. The new plan guides decisions about the growth of Eau Claire through 2030. The updated plan focuses us on household income and employment, neighborhood improvement, and downtown redevelopment. Community development also paid attention to property valuation. As we all know, property taxes are the lifeblood of municipal revenue, so paying attention is important. The residential permit and building fee report is a good indicator of growing property valuations in 2015. Single-family permits, for example, at 59 in 2014, were up to 67 in 2015, and multifamily from 58 to 151. For a total building valuation up from $78.5 million to over $156 million, almost a twofold increase in property valuation. Well done, well done. We also, though, paid attention to commercial development. Economic development staff brought 3 projects generating $670,000 in sales to the Gateway Industrial Park. 2 projects, Kurtz Industrial Solutions and FedEx, expanded or built operations in Gateway. Both new, Kurtz Manufacturing is a new business to Eau Claire. And outside Gateway, economic development staff helped the South Hastings Way Business Improvement District get off the ground. The bid, easier to say, is on a path to grow commercial activity finally and correctly along South Hastings Way. Community development also paid a lot of attention to neighborhood revitalization. As mentioned, the comp plan calls us to focus on the city's older neighborhoods. An effort to do so is already underway. A task force was formed and will eventually create a plan to revitalize the city's older neighborhoods, probably focusing on the city center to begin with. Housing issues will be big on our minds in 2016. And more big things happened in the city. The clerk's office held a recount. Information services expanded Wi-Fi to all the city's voting places. Eau Claire's Music Festival, the brainchild of Justin Vernon's band Bon Iver, brought international fame to our city. And the 50th annual 57th Street Jazz Festival highlighted the city's rich history in jazz performance. The second annual Eau Claire Marathon sold out to registered runners and donated nearly $250,000 to area charities. Scott Hodek, economist in the Department of Workforce Development, and the Critical Talent Committee created a first ever research project that examined the skills gap in Eau Claire. The survey asked businesses about their retirement projections, degrees and training sought, and unfilled positions. The report, which will be published later this spring, will help workers plan their education. And I said housing would be on our minds, but it already is for people working with those experiencing homelessness. The Porch Committee worked with Western Dairyland, who was awarded a HUD grant, Housing and Urban Development, to house chronically homeless people. After almost a year of work, the Housing First program is up and running, and over a dozen otherwise chronically homeless single people and families are now housed in apartments and receive supportive services by an extraordinary young woman named Sarah Dutter. I hope I have half the patience and kindness this woman owns. As you can see, big things happen all over Eau Claire. As is our duty, we attended to all of them through a practical approach and hard work that focused on high standards in public service, transparency, trust, adapting, getting everybody together, outside, moving cars, people, and water, workforce well-being, life-saving speed, prevention, and paying attention. Because, though, it is always good to look forward, I offer a few of my thoughts on some things that will likely capture our attention in the year to come. The first is the city's housing stock, which will include a look at housing college students, refurbishing older homes, and homelessness among young adults and families. Energy generation and distribution will be a focus of sustainability, and the Advisory Commission on Sustainability and Citizens will keep pushing us to address sustainable resource management. I welcome their research and advice. Public transportation will be on our minds in 2016. A Transit Center Selection Site Committee's report will help us actually rethink the effectiveness of our whole transit system. Local control will be an issue. When you live in a city that works, it's very hard to suffer the imposition of the state. From deer to guns, from land use to plastic bags, the state continues to whittle away at local control. But local governance is a central tenet of a vibrant democracy, and we should hold on to it as much as we can. Also on our minds will be managing the cost of public services. Our mission statement directs us to assure the common good through essential services. Our strategic plan demands that we manage the cost of doing so. This inevitably means a hard look at those living in poverty in our city. A difficult discussion that already began through the efforts of Clear Vision, Leadership Eau Claire, UW Eau Claire class initiatives, the Health Department, and the new Comprehensive Land Use Plan, which compiled a 20-page document on how the comp plan works to address issues of those living in poverty. With more difficult discussions ahead of us, I am proud to see this good work underway. And lastly, economic development and tax incremental financing will occupy much of our time and energy early in 2016. As the major urban center between Madison and the Twin Cities, our position of strength compels us to engage in economic growth of West Central Wisconsin, so the whole region prospers. So we have a lot on our plate in 2016. Oh, and by the way, we're going to build ourselves a new performing arts center. These are important things to me and to the many people working on them. Addressing them will require skilled and experienced leadership well beyond next year. And I close with some thoughts. Cities are growing in population, size, and importance. Benjamin Barber, senior researcher at City University of New York, reports in his TED Talk, 78% of people in the developed world live in a city. 81% of the US population lives in a city. In Wisconsin, cities will grow 13.5% by 2040. We are growing in population, size, and importance. Mr. Barber calls cities primary incubators of cultural, social, and political innovation that shape our planet. Their leaders, he says, unfettered by political affiliation and pragmatic in style, have become beacons of good governance. A mighty compliment, and one perhaps we think we deserve, and perhaps we do. Eau Claire has much strength. We should be proud, but we should not be haughty. Instead, it is good for us to use our success to create the best model there can be of how to live together in peace and stability by sharing and collaborating in gratitude with those around us. That, it seems to me, is good governance. Eau Claire is a city that works. Thank you very much.
Thank you.